I live in what used to be a drafty flat, so I have insulated it to the best that I can. I've cut my energy bills, and it didn't cost me a huge amount to do it. I've also committed to cycling twice a week to work. You probably don't think that sounds ambitious, but I live at the bottom of a hill, and that was my New Year's resolution, which I put on Facebook, and I've been working hard to make sure I live up to that ever since. And just in my
But
party,
you go home every night, presumably, so you go downhill at the end of the day.
yeah, it's getting up in the morning is my challenge. So I do a lot. I actually do an awful lot of walking, but I'm trying to make myself do more cycling and using buses, and just telling my colleagues that I'm doing it as well, that it's doable and that you get healthy in it. So trying to set an impression in my own party is actually one of the things I try to do.
So you're evangelising with success?
I'm trying to show people that actually it's good for your health, it makes you feel healthy, and you save a lot of money on it, and I think that's a win-win.
Okay, Mike Crocker.
Similarly to Sarah, I've looked at my own house recently, made sure that I've got the most energy efficient light bulbs, doing all the obvious things that we possibly can do. The feed-in tariff has actually been at the forefront of my mind, trying to make sure that I don't miss out on that. So I've actually had somebody around in the last 2 weeks looking at putting solar panels onto the roof to make sure I get that as quickly as I can. Walking to work, especially in London, I walk to work each day.
I should explain here to those online that Mike is a member of the Westminster Parliament.
Yeah.
Please carry on.
And on that note, I can, in the spirit of exclusives, I can exclusively reveal that I'm now a member of the Environmental Audit Select Committee in Westminster as well. So, going to be doing a lot of work with them to actually look at Green Deal, look at Green Investment Bank, making sure that we are getting the best possible efficiencies that we can from the money, the huge amounts of money that we're putting into this, and making sure that they are spent wisely.
All right, Shirley-Ann Summerall, do you think it's important to show leadership?
I think it is important to show leadership. I'm not going to pretend that if you're to look at every aspect of my life that I would perform brilliantly in all of them. But some of the areas I am trying to look at is using public transport more. Recycling, I think our house has always been quite good at, but food waste is something which we picked up on as an area which we were really quite poor on, and we're looking at that really seriously and trying to change that. Yes, it saves you a fortune as well, but we've really noticed the difference that makes to the actual amount of waste that we were putting out. So it can be quite small things that you can do, but it actually over time we feel that will make a difference, beneficial to us as a household, but beneficial to the environment as well. But one of the big things that we're trying to do is ensure that my children grow up with an aspect of environmentalism being fun. So yes, the 2.5-year-old can go on a litter pick, and we're going to pretend that that's a family day out. And yes, they can join in activities like recycling and take part in that, where it's a normal part of it, where it's not seen as anything special to them, but something that we get them into way in the future, and they now nag us about that.
Okay, Ian McGill, what do you do to show leadership on your own climate change agenda?
Yep. So again, lots of stuff. As I touched on in my player, I am a cyclist. I cycle everywhere. It goes through not just my personal stuff, through my business. So my staff, they all get bike to work scheme, and we got rid of the company cars and joined the City Car Club. So it's given up a car, joined the City Car Club, which takes, for everyone, City Car Club car takes 25 cars off the road, so they do great stuff. I'm a vegetarian, and my work career, I worked overseas, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, up in the Amazon, Eastern European International Aid. So in my work career, I've made those trips seem up close and personal, where climate change is affecting people. So it does motivate me. It does make me make some of these sacrifices. And other things is just making sure I've lost count of the amount of things I've fished out. The water relief and water relief cleanups are a particular favourite of mine, because you can get the waders on and fish out an old bike, and it might get tired up. So it is, and I encourage that sort of behaviour.
All right, Patrick Harvey, what do you do?
I try and wear a jumper instead of putting the heating on. I try and waste as little food as I possibly can manage, and to eat less meat and dairy as well. Those kind of choices are important. Like the others, transport is a big one. I would love it if in the next session of Parliament we can replace this with a smart card for every public transport mode instead of me having to carry this around, which doesn't fit in my wallet. And it's been years since I went on holiday without being able to go by train. Last summer I was invited to go and study climate change issues in the US actually, and I ummed and ahed and I kind of agonised over the choice, do I fly to America or not? In the end I compromised, I flew one way and I spent 10 days on a cargo freighter to come back, and I can really strongly recommend slow travel. It's a really life-affirming experience.
All right, thank you. Now, we're over an hour into the debate. Amazingly, we have a question about the banking crisis which Britain has been undergoing over the last couple of years. It's amazing because it's taken so long for the questioners to get to this point, but we have loads of comments and questions on one of the principal protagonists in that debate, RBS, which we used to know as Royal Bank of Scotland. The questioners are asking, do the panellists think it's right that taxpayers' money is being spent on investments which damage the climate by, and this is the questioner's words in this case, a bailed out bank? Sarah Boyack.
Well, I suppose the challenge is how you let the bank get on with repaying the money to the public sector while still being successful. And there should be issues in terms of how the bank invests its money. I think the challenge is how you would do that. And
do we as taxpayers have the right to say no unethical investments of this kind in respect of climate change?
Well, I think it's up there with bankers' bonuses and making sure that small businesses get fair deals. So there's a whole range of different public goods that we would want out of our banks, and it is something that those of us who were MSPs last time have raised regularly with the banks about what kind of ethical investment policy they have and what are they doing in terms of green investment. And I suppose it speaks volumes that we want a green investment bank because the traditional banks aren't doing that job.
All right, Mike Crocker, I think you're a parliamentary colleague, as I explained a moment ago in Westminster, of the business secretary, that's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Who has apparently quite a lot of say in what the banks who are bailed out do at the moment. So should he be making sure that they don't indulge in these climate damaging investments?
I think we can all do our bit to try to make sure that banks are investing ethically, not just as taxpayers, but also as policyholders and bank account holders.
But as an elected representative and a member of the UK government, should the business secretary be considering much more tough restrictions on a bank doing something which many people consider to be unethical?
Well, I think we need to bear in mind that it's not a nationalised bank, it's a bank, as I said, it's a bailed out bank. But it's not being run by the government, it's being run separately. I don't actually agree with some of the investments that they're doing. I mean, it was, I think the person's probably getting at, there was a fair pensions campaign in the run-up to the last election that I signed up to, which was all to do with tar sands,
yes.
Which RBS and others that were
that's the focal point of many of the questions.
And I was absolutely supportive of that they should not be involved in those types of investments. We shouldn't forget that RBS are also one of the biggest investors in renewable technologies and in renewable energy. So it's not all bad, but yeah, we should all be doing our bit to put pressure on the banks, not just as taxpayers but as policyholders. And I'm doing that in meetings with banks and other institutions, raising this on a monthly basis, along with many other types of things.
And do they listen or do they move on?
They listen, absolutely. But these are commercial.
And then they move on.
These are commercial institutions which, yes, make commercial decisions. What we need to make sure is that they know that there are effects that has on how people view them, and that people will react to those views and potentially take their business elsewhere.